What's up YouTube, it's your boy Lord Solar Prime, and today guys, I'm gonna be showing you my Infer-Magistus deck that I've been having in the works for maybe about 8 months now. I took a break from terrorizing my locals with Fire Kings to finally update my Infernoble Knight deck. And I took this deck to locals for the last maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I got a few first place and a few top fours, nothing crazy, but the testing has been amazing and it's been so much fun. What the Masters cards allow for the Infernoble Knight deck to actually do is to play way more confidently into an established board, and I can't wait to show you what I mean by that. But before I go any further, this video is very special because I did a collaboration once again with one of my great friends, Scarlight TCG here on YouTube. You guys may know him as Scarlight. I know him as Rudy. I'll be linking his channel down in the description below. But I reached out to him just basically asking to pick his mind and to share my ideas and a few combo lines. So we got on Discord, we talked a bit, and we walked through a combo line. He shared his ideas with me. I shared my ideas with him. And this is the product of, well, this is the deck profile that came from two great minds that love Infernobles. And we really just wanted to share what the Masters monsters provided for this particular archetype. So if you guys like what you see, give this video a like. If you guys have something to say, be sure to comment down below. And if you know a friend or anybody else that might enjoy this content, share this video with them. So without further ado, guys, let's get into my Infer-Magistus deck. All right, here we are with the Infernoble Knight side of the deck, and we're gonna go ahead and start with Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. We're only playing one copy at the moment, but for the majority of my testing, I've actually played Immortal Phoenix Gearfried here at 2, which is crazy. This is the first Infernoble Knight deck that I was able to comfortably play 2 copies of Immortal Phoenix Gearfried, only because inherently the Masters monsters creates the summon condition for Gearfried here. And there's also a few tips that you might need to know, which I'm going to actually show you guys in the next video when I'm going over the tips and combo lines for this deck. That Gearfried actually plays an integral role when it comes to comboing off with the Masters monsters, but I can't wait to show you that. Also, playing this deck, you may be forced into some half boards, and having that extra Gearfried in hand or in deck may be actually beneficial. So for the time being, I'm only playing one Gearfried here, but this is subject to change. Moving on to the Infernoble Knights, we have Ogier, Turpin, Olivier, Renaud, and Boost Warrior. Before I get into Boost Warrior, I want to cover the level 4 Infernoble Knight monsters here. As you guys can see, there's one Infernoble Knight monster that's missing, and that's Malgus. My reason for not playing Malgus is because inherently he does not help combo with the Masters monsters. And I know a lot of people love the draw one effect of Malgus, but in this particular build here, I felt that it was not necessarily needed because I wanted this to be just all gas and extenders, like Turpin and all of it here. So the Magistus monsters allow for the, just like in the instance for Gearfried, it allows the summoning conditions of Oliver from hand and Turpin from hand and also from the grave, which allows you to push your plays a lot further and allows you to extend a lot harder. So I decided not to play Malgus for that instance, guys. He just doesn't do enough when it comes to comboing as well as I would want him to combo well with the Masters monsters. Ogier, of course, is Ogier. 2-card combo with Ogier. Renaud is still played heavily. So that brings us over to Boost Warrior here. Boost Warrior is one of the most important warriors in this deck because it allows himself to be special summoned to the field when you control a tuner monster. And when we get to the combo section of the video, which is going to be the next video, you guys will see how integral this guy is in creating 2-card combos, and in the middle of us creating a board, how integral he is for pushing our plays even further. Can't wait to show you that. Moving on to 2 Noble Arms Museums, 1 Heritage, 1 Almace, and 2 Durendals. Why 2 Durendals? Why not just 1 Durendal and a reinforcer of the army? And that's simple because I want as many equips in this deck to facilitate either the summon of Gearfried or the extension of my Turpin and Olivier. Well, also, my personal opinion, I think if you're playing 2 museums, you need to be playing 3 equip cards to benefit from the 2 museums. That's just my personal opinion. Moving on to the last equip card here is Angelica's Ring. A lot of people or a lot of Infernoble Knight players know that we actually do not main this card in our main decks, but there's a very critical reason why we want to main deck Angelica's Ring in the main board, and that's because of the amount of board breakers that are being played, which is Super Poly or even Forbidden Droplets. Also, with the Magistus monsters here, we're able to benefit off monsters already having equipped cards established on the board. And if we are forced into a half-board situation with Zora or any of the other Magistus monsters, we're able to automatically just equip your Angelic Ring to those monsters for an extra interruption on our opponent for free. So this card here, well, this equip card here actually benefits us in the main board more than I even expected. Also, it's part of my inboard, so be sure to come back and look at the combo video where I actually established this on my inboard. So that does it for the Infernoble Knights side of the deck. Let's go ahead and travel over to the Magistus side. All right, here are the Magistus monsters that I'm playing in my build, and I'm gonna do my best to explain this version of Magistus as best as I can, but you guys may need a point of reference. And if that's the case, feel free to travel over to Scarlight's YouTube channel if I have not already uploaded my combo video explaining these guys a little bit more intently, because it's going to be hard to show you or to explain to you the importance of these cards without actually showing it to you. Of course, I can read their effects and things like that and just give you little nuggets of why these things are important and how they are used together. But the visual representation is so much clearer of why these cards are played in Infernobles. So I'm gonna do my best, but in case you guys need a reference, I'll link the video down below to Scarlight where he explains and runs through a couple combo lines. That way you guys can be fully invested into what I'm saying here. So let's go ahead and get it started. So we have Zoa here, which is going to be one of the most important Magistus monsters for the Infer-Magistus deck. And I already can hear you. All right, well, if he's so important, then why are we only running 1 copy of Zoa? We have 2 reasons for that. The first reason is that we're actually not running 1 copy of Zoa. We're actually running 4 copies. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, because primarily Zoa is going to be teleported from the deck via Ver-Magic or in combination with Jenny and Ver-Magic. So there's your 4 copies of Zoa. Secondly, the reason why we're only playing 1 Zoa is because of his own effect. So let's go ahead and get to the effect. His effect is when he's on field, he can actually equip himself with a Magistus monster from the extra deck. Now, seeing as we are not a full Magistus deck, we don't have a abundance of Magistus monsters in our extra deck to utilize this effect over and over and over again. So he's kind of a one and done type deal for the Infer-Magistus build. So that's really why we only use 1. Now, once he becomes equipped, he then can special summon a Magistus monster from the graveyard or from your hand in the Vix position, but their effects are negated, which helps with synchro summoning and extension. And in my case, it helps for synchro summoning for Infernobles. Now, Zoa is also a part of your 2-card combos with Boost Warrior. So Zoa plus any way to get to Boost Warrior is Infernoble for a combo. So Zoa plus Museum, Durendal, Almace, and even Heritage is Infernoble combo. So let's move over to Liliana, which is going to be another start of the deck. So we play her at 3, and she has 2 on-summon effects. You're going to use one of them once per turn, but let's go ahead and talk about them. So the first effect is when she's normal special summon, she can add a Magistus spell card from your deck to your hand. The spell card you're going to be adding is going to be Infer-Magic, because Infer-Magic actually counts as a Magistus card as well. So that's one effect. The second effect is that when she's normal spell summon, she can return a banished spellcaster back to the graveyard. I've probably used that effect maybe once. I can only see us using this in a grind situation and where we're falling behind, but we just need some extra equips on the field. That's the only way I can see us using that effect. Now, she does have a graveyard effect, and many of the other Magistus monsters have graveyard effects as well. Her graveyard effect says, you can banish this card from your graveyard to target a Magistus monster on field and equip it with a Magistus monster that is not level 4. So primarily, she's probably going to be equipping your Artemis from the graveyard to a Magistus monster on field, or either a high level fusion monster, if that works out. So moving on from Riliana, we have Spenta, which is going to be one of the newest Magistus monsters released in the latest set. So Spenta has a discard effect. Actually has 2 discard effects. I mean, a discard effect, but you can pick between 2 different effects. So the first effect is you can discard this card to search for a Magistus monster, which is very, very good. And the second discard effect is you can discard this to half the attack of an opponent's monster, which I've yet to do, but I can absolutely see this being beneficial in a grind game or in a game where you're moving into an established board where you really want to take out certain monsters. But where he really shines at is the graveyard effect that it has. So while this card is in the graveyard, you can target one monster on the field and equip it with a Magistus monster from the graveyard or from the extra deck. Now that targeting effect is primarily how we're going to trigger our effect of Angelica, because it doesn't have to target a Magistus monster, it has to target a monster, which is gonna allow us to trigger Angelica. So this is primarily how we truly want to trigger our Angelica effect when this card is in the graveyard. Moving over to Crowley, we played 2 different versions of Crowley, but the first version we're going to talk about is going to be the Gifted Magistus, which his effect says if this card is added to your hand, you can special summon this card to the field. And once this card is special summoned, you can then conduct a fusion summon of Crowley and using any monster on the field. So this is primarily how we get to the fusion version of Zoa, which installates a lot of our plays from like the Nibiru or any other cards our opponent might be trying to activate. So this is primarily how we get to our fusion version of Zoa, which will be fleshed more out when you get to the combo lines of this particular deck profile. Now, moving on to the other version of Crowley, this card is here mainly for extension. So when I talked to Scarlet YGO, he put me onto this card, and I was like, dude, why you play this card? He was like, well, you know, have you ever gotten to a point in your testing where you had so many spellcasters in your hand, you kind of really just wanted to get them out of your hand to fulfill some extension on board? I was like, well, yeah, you're actually right. So he said, well, that's really the only reason this guy is here, in case we get stuck with a bunch of spellcasters in our hand, whether they are non-engine or they actually are Magistus monster. Now his effect on field to change his attribute is irrelevant, but he also has a graveyard effect just like Riliana, where he allows you to target a Magistus monster and equip it with a non-level 4 Magistus monster. So they both share the same effect. Moving over to Witchcrafter Jenny, which is so out of place. She has 2 effects, but only one of them is relevant. So I'm only going to talk about that one relevant effect, which is going to be the effect of her being in the graveyard. So if she's in the graveyard along with another Witchcrafter spell, she can banish herself and copy the effect of a Witchcrafter spell. Which Witchcrafter spell is she going to copy? She's going to copy the effect of Infer-Magic. And this is typically how we teleport out our copy of Zoa or any other Magistus monster from the deck. So let's go ahead and jump into Infer-Magic now, where we're going to start to talk about where you might be able to see how these things actually flow together. So Infer-Magic is a quick play spell card, and it's always treated as a Magistus and a Witchcrafter card. And you can use the effect of Infer-Magic's effect, which has 2 effects once per turn. So you can use both effects once per turn. So the first effect here is if you control a Magistus or a Witchcraft the monster, you can send one spellcaster or one spell card from your deck to the graveyard, which is very, very helpful. Primarily, you're going to be using that first effect to send Jenny to the graveyard, to also trigger her effect to banish her along with Ver-Magic to teleport out any of your Magistus monsters. Now, the second effect of Ver-Magic is when your opponent activates a card or effect, special summon a Magistus monster or a Witchcraft monster from your hand or deck. This is a really, really great effect, which I already stated, because this is also the effect you use with the banish effect of Jenny. But being able to teleport out a Magistus monster if you are hand trapped is very, very critical, which also puts this as a pseudo starter along with the other 7 starters we have here, which is the 3 Relionas, the 3 Spencers, and the 1 Zora. Having this as a pseudo starter is absolutely crazy, which allows Infernobles to play a lot more confident into an established board. I think I said that once before. This is the reason why, because you're able to teleport out your level 4 Magistus monsters and continue under being hand trapped. So this is a really, really good card. You want to make sure you play this card at 3. Sometimes I typically side one out, but in most cases I don't. I try not to, but I have sided one and copy out, you know, in certain games, but you're able to have that flexibility. So hopefully I was able to flesh out what these cards do without truly showing you a combo line. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the non-engine I'm playing in this build. All right, so here is the non-engine for this build. It's pretty standard for what I can understand, but there are a few things that I did want to point out and elaborate on. So let's get started. So we have the 3/4, the 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, 2 Nib, 2 Imperm, 2 Droll, and 1 Callby. The reason I'm choosing to play 2 Nibiru and 2 Droll in the main is because Infernoble is very much still a I want to go first type deck, but having these in the main board when we're forced to go second does help push the initiative back to us and makes it a lot easier for us to push through our opponent's boards. Now, in the last segment, I did say Ver-Magic was a pseudo starter, and I wanted to touch on what I meant by that. So sometimes when you're starting your turn, your opponent can get a little bit overzealous with their hand traps, and this is a way to punish them. So let's just say we start our turn out and our opponent automatically hits us with a Fua or a Perulia in the standby phase, main phase, it doesn't matter. And then we're able to chain our Ver-Magic to go ahead and start putting advantage on the board, whether we want to put Zoa or Reliona on the board. Now, it's totally up to you and what your hand looks like, which one you choose to go forth and put on the board. But it also matters when you're drawing certain hand traps. Let's just say, for instance, your opponent goes full in the main phase or in the standby phase, and you're holding an Effect Veiler. Your typical choice, since you have an Effect Veiler in hand, you can normal summon your Effect Veiler, but by chaining Ver-Magic to your opponent's Fua, you will automatically choose to go Reliona. That way you can normal summon if things get a little too hairy to make a level 5 synchro into your Infernoble plays, and you can continue on down that path. Well, what if you are holding Droll and Lockbird in your hand? Then you typically want to go for a Zoa off the effect of Ver-Magic. That way you can special summon out your Zoa and normal summon your Droll and Lockbird, because if it's your turn, you pretty much don't want to use it on your turn. So that way you can go ahead and step into your Infernoble plays that way, which both of these equal a level 5 synchro. Now, in the case where your opponent does not activate Fua on you in the turn, let's just say you start your turn off, which is very common, where you start off with a Spenta, or either you start off with your Museum, wanting to add certain cards for these particular interactions, and your opponent hits you with a Ash Blossom. You're still able to craft your hand and your board at this particular time to play around the whole Ash Blossom interaction with Ver-Magic. So let's just say you go Spenta, your opponent goes Ash, you're totally fine. You can just go Ver-Magic into Reliona or Zoa. or let's just say you go museum, then they go Ash, you can go the same route and just start your normal 1-card combo with Rilliona. The effect of Spender was only to search for Rilliona and or Zoa. So you really never lost any advantage, but your opponent lost card advantage, thinking they were going to stop your entire play. And sometimes in many cases, one hand trap is kind of all your opponent may have at certain points. So I was hoping I was able to elaborate on what I meant by Ver-Magic being a pseudo starter. So that does it for the non-engine. Let's go ahead and move over to the extra deck. All right, so here is my extra deck. It's a bit fluid with 1 card, but we'll discuss that in just a second. I might need you guys to help me out on making a decision. So we play 1 Charles the Great, 1 Emperor Charles, 2 Captain Roland, which should come as no surprise because I am mainboarding the Angelic Ring. I could get into the 2nd Captain Roland mid combo, which allows me to drop the ring to the graveyard to equip to Charles the Great at the end phase, and also adding me follow-up in the form of Immortal Phoenix gear free to my hand. So we also still play the 1 Angelica. Now moving on to the Magistus side of the extra deck, we play the 1 Fusion Zoa, and he has 2 effects. His first effect is, then they're both once per turn. Target 1 effect monster in my graveyard or a effect monster my opponent controls and equip it to this card. His second effect is I can negate the effect of an opponent's monster by sending a Monster Magistus card to the graveyard. And if I do, I can destroy a card on my opponent's side of the field. So it gives you 2 forms of interruptions for 1. That's a great card, guys. We played a 1 Chaozo. I don't really use his effect for anything. I mainly care that he's a level 4 tuner, and the fact that I can special summon him by giving up monster spell cards in my spell and tri-card zone to summon him onto the field. We played a 2 Artemis, and she has 2 effects as well. So anytime a Magistus monster is summoned to the field, she has the option of whether or not she wants to equip herself to that Magistus monster while she's on the field. And the other effect is, while she's equipped to a monster, she can search for a Magistus monster from my deck. So this is the monster I was telling you about that had really good synergy with Gear Free, but I can't wait to show you how to manipulate this. So we play 2 of those. This is all mandatory. You have to play at least these 4, but I have 1 more that I really want to discuss with you guys. So just give me just a second. We have 1 Amberwell, 1 Dempsey, 1 IP, 1 SP, 1 Princess, and 1 Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. Snake Eyes Doom Dragon should be in everybody's Infernoble deck because we do so much spell and trap manipulation that we really can take advantage of this. And it's no different, if not, it's higher in this deck as well. I use it mid combo, but I also can use it going second when I need help breaking boards. So the card that I'm fluid on is the Amberwell, and also the other version of Zoa, which is the Zoa of Calamity. So at the moment, I'm mainboarding the Amberwell, but I'm also siding the Calamity, which I go back and forth every now and it just depends on what my locals is looking like. If I feel like I'm going against a lot of heavy fusion decks or heavy links decks, I mainly want to keep this in the main board, but for majority and for the sake of this video, he's in my side deck. So let me explain to you what this guy actually does. So on Synchro Summon, he can equip a Magistus monster from the extra deck to himself. Now, while he has a monster equipped to him, the type of that monster cannot activate their effects. So your opponent cannot activate the effects of those monsters. So let's just say that I Synchro Summon him and I attach an Artemis to this guy. So your opponent can't activate the effects of Link monsters while he has this equipped, while he has the Link monster equipped to it, and so on and so forth. They like Fusion's equipped to him, can't activate Fusion monster effects. And his other effect is, if he's in the graveyard, I can target a Magistus monster on the field, destroy it, and spell summon him back to the field. Now, I know a lot of you guys might be wondering, like, all right, how do you get him re-equipped if he falls to the grave and he only can get his own effect of equipping once he's Synchro Summoned? Well, that's where Rilliona, Spinda, and the other Crowley comes into play by equipping monsters from the graveyard to this guy. So that is my dilemma, whether or not I should main board the Calamity Zora or continue to main board the Ambler Wheel. You will see combos with me using Ambler Wheel in the combo video, but I do like I do like Zora Calamity in the main board because my locals is infested with fusion based decks, and I'm able to equip him with a fusion monster to turn off their fusion monsters. So I really do like that as well. But I want to know what you guys think. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys, you know, showing support to Scarlight TCG. Like I said, please go visit his channel, give his build a look over, and I will be linking that down in the description. But let me know what you guys think. Whether I should continue to play Ambler Wheel in the main and Zora Calamity in the side. I don't know yet, but I'm willing to listen to you guys. What do you guys have to say about it? But this has been your boy, Lord Solar Prime, and I'm out, guys. Peace.